Good morning, Islander fans. Welcome to the final episode here of this 2025-26 New York Islanders season. My name is Paul Kreischer. I am your only host today. Um, Joe has some family stuff still going on. He gives his regards. He will be back at some point. Gary is also doing some things today, which is why I gave him his moment to sign off um, 2 days ago, 3 days ago. So you are here with me today. I'm glad you're here. Good morning to all. Um, the emeritus is watching. Here we go. Fair enough. So, good morning. Good morning. We'll let some of you guys get in here. Oh, wasn't expecting that, but you're up, Matthew. So, listen, folks. Um, I will not be bringing up your comments in this show. Um, there's a little bit of stuff I need to cover. By all means, play nice in the chat room. I won't be paying too much attention, but this is, I don't want to say it's a long time coming, but this show needed to happen for me in order for me to enjoy my summer. Okay. Um, we're going to splash some really cold water on you guys. And at the same time, we're going to be a little more uplifting as as the show progresses. And if everything goes well, um, I'll put in a link into the chat room for anyone who wants to come in live and vent away. Give me your thoughts, your feelings heading into next season, into the draft, whatever you want, as long as time permits. So, um, having said that, folks, welcome to the Lottery League. The one spot every NHL owner does not want to be in, ever. This is your actual mushy middle. Okay. You're somewhere in between the actual NHL teams who make the playoffs on a consistent or regular basis, and you're also just above the American Hockey League teams. You're nowhere. You're just there. You're there to make as much money as possible. Sorry. This is where you are. We're going to go into a little deeper what the Lottery League really is. We're going to see how long the Islanders really are going to be in this trench, this actual mushy middle. It's more like quicksand, believe it or not. And some of you really should get a little angry, just a smidge. But once I tick you off, I'll bring you back a little bit more on the positive side, and I'll let you guys decide, what you want to do with this team moving forward. Welcome to year 2. You just completed year 2 of your transitional time. Gary and I have brought this up before. I don't know if it's going to be 4 years like we did in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm hoping for the same result from the early 90s, particularly that 93 run. That's the goal for you guys. For me, that's my wish for you guys. You never really left this transitional period despite what was going on this year. And I wanted to do this show because for those of you who have followed, I honestly didn't have the Islanders making the playoffs, even when they were in the playoff spot. And I wanted to explain and show you guys why that didn't happen. But at the same time, I also want to demonstrate how close the Islanders really could be moving forward. And I know he's watching, but this was already pre-planned anyway. when you're doing a show like this for this long, okay, we've actually been doing it longer than 7 years. We've been doing it for, I think, 10, Gary. I think that's about right. Gary was on the radio before then. I was his host. Excuse me, his guest back then. We've been doing this for at least a decade. I have taken elements from Gary for this show. I have taken elements from our good friend John Panarese. Rest in peace. I've also taken elements from Joe and I've incorporated his focus in with the show as well. So even though these three gentlemen are not here talking, they are going to be present in this show because I feel it's beneficial for fans to understand what's really going on. So let's get through this transition. Let's get through the show. But before we do that, before we dive into the lottery league, this new modern NHL, there was a lot of learning on my part this year, a whole lot of learning about this new NHL. And you cannot stay in one idea moving forward when it comes to the NHL. You have to adapt. The other tough part is you also have to accept it. Okay. It is what it is moving forward. Okay. One of the things I've learned for sure this year, the NHL is definitely more entertainment than it is sport. And what do I mean by that? I had my reservations made it public about Matthew Schaefer playing a full season because I was thinking the old school NHL would absolutely take care of his inexperience on the NHL ice. He performed admirably, no doubt. But what I started to notice in these games, players not finishing their checks like they used to, the hitting was not there. Some of that could be due to the schedule, but I think what we're starting to see more and more often, and I believe Adam from All Things Islanders said this as well, this is becoming, or it has become already, the Western Conference of the late 90s and early 2000s. There was more of a finesse and skill game back then. Whereas in the Eastern Conference, you had the grinding, the hitting, the bruising, something we grew up with on this side. For my younger fans may not, who were not there for the late 90s and early 2000s, think of this as the international rules, the Olympics, um, those types of finesse slash skill games. And Matthew Schaefer coming into this league came in at the perfect time. But what I wanted to see as well was he getting special treatment? The answer to that is no, because I watched an insane amount of hockey this year, and it's across the board. The physicality is there in the playoffs, thank God. But there's now more finesse, there's more skill, which is why you now have Sidney Crosby, Alex Ovechkin, you have Malkin, you have Carlson, you have those older players, Brett Burns, still playing in their late 30s, early 40s. Okay, Anders Lee playing until he's 36. But at the same time, you can bring in kids like Macklin Celebrini early. You can bring in special talents like Matthew Schaefer early. And what that has caused, and Gary and I have talked about this the most, parity. The amount of parity in this league right now. You've all seen the stats. Some of this is going to be redundant. The save percentages are down on almost all the goalies. Scoring is up. That's good entertainment. That's good business. More games went to overtime this year. More games went to the shootout. I believe the idea of looking down to your opponent is gone. I think every game now is going to be different. If the players are not ready to play, you're in for a long night. And I think it's going to be even more so next season when these players get more than 1 day off next year because there is no Olympics. The World Cup's not coming yet. This is just going to be a regular NHL season. And if you guys thought this year was maddening, wait. That's why, and this is the part of the homage to Gary here at the moment. Yes, we can set previews all we want, but you have to play the season. You have to learn what the season is giving you. And I'll dive a little bit more of what I saw with the Islanders moving forward. The other thing we learned, or at least I learned this year, more so than ever, injuries are going to play a massive role. Don't listen to any GM at this point anymore. Injuries are absolutely going to play a role. You need the depth in your minor league system, or you need to be overloaded with players in the NHL. Injuries are absolutely going to play a role, especially if there isn't enough talent on your team. Injuries to any of these teams can cost you 1.2 points that make you miss the playoffs. There needs to be enough depth in these organizations to stay out of this lottery league moving forward. No doubt. And with that, every year is going to be different. And this is going to be an advantage for teams like the Islanders. If Carolina gets ravaged by injuries and they just can't get it together, Carolina could absolutely miss the playoffs. If Jack Hughes finds a way to stay healthy this entire season or next season, the Devils are going to be in first, second, third, whatever. We've seen that this year. The Boston Bruins, healthy. Look at what they're doing. I'll get into that in a minute. So that's what I've gotten out of the NHL this year. It's going to be very different. Every year is going to be different. I don't think we're going to see that consistency that we're used to seeing other teams make the playoffs all the time. I think that's going to change. I don't think you're going to see those long 5, 6, 7 year runs of making the playoffs anymore. You may see 2, you may see 3. Honestly, it's going to depend on the depth of the entire organization moving forward. And that's why I still feel the Islanders are in a transitional period. They're adding to the organization. They still have to add to this organization. So, With that said, on the NHL, what is the lottery league? Well, as of right now, it consists of 10 teams: the Detroit Red Wings, the Chicago Blackhawks, the San Jose Sharks, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Calgary Flames, the Seattle Kraken, the New York Rangers, the New York Islanders, the Nashville Predators, and the Vancouver Canucks. What do they all have in common? They have missed the playoffs now for 2 straight years. I always give 1 year, you know, an asterisk. I don't count them in the lottery league because the first year, it's usually a team that got ravaged by injuries. Sometimes teams just bounce back pretty well and they're right back in the playoffs. New Jersey is an example of that. Boston this year is an example of that. So I don't put them in the lottery leagues. When it comes to your team that is now in the lottery league, seeing is now believing. Okay. For my loyalists, I'm going to apologize right now. You have to go from always believing to I'll believe it when I see it. Actions speak louder than words, but it's not just on the team. It's got to be the entire organization because now you need the entire organization to be successful. It's not just your NHL team anymore. The lottery league, whether the NHL will admit it or not, is a development league. You get first round picks who are coming into the NHL, probably not ready, but the team's not making the playoffs. So you need to sell tickets. Business move. And there's also the case, not saying it's with the Islanders, but I have heard that, agents tend to make bad choices for their players' careers, for their clients' careers, by going up to the general manager and be like, look, this first round pick, this first round pick, this first round pick, they're all in the NHL. Put my client in the NHL or trade him. Ta da. They're making the money, but they're not going anywhere. It's also a development league for veterans as well. It allows them to work on their game, it allows them to evolve. And sure enough, when the time is right, after they've been working on their game and they've been mentoring the younger players, they get their shot at the Stanley Cup. It's just the way it is. It's a development league. Sometimes, again, it's out of necessity because there's not enough depth in the organization. That's what happens. When you're in the lottery league, you got to think long term. Usually 2 years, it's like injuries. 1 or 2 years, it's injuries. 3 years, you want to call it a retool. 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you're in a rebuild. After this show, I don't think we're gonna. My hope is to convince you that we are not in a rebuild. This is going to be a retool. I'm not going to lie. I'm really going to like year 4. Year 3 next year might actually be fun, but we'll get to that in a minute. Um, Trade deadlines. Don't worry about it. Trade deadlines, don't worry about it. There was another one here. Um, Grading players is an absolute waste of time. You're in the lottery league, you're not going anywhere. Stop it. I know some have mouths to feed, families to take care of. I get it. Did the Islanders make the playoffs? No. No. That's the business side. The Islanders did not make the playoffs. Grading players is a waste of time when you're not winning anyway. Uh, Potential is advertised. Oh, man. I'm not picking on any player at the moment, but he's going to be a number one centerman. He's almost there. He's going to be a number two or a number one center. He's going to be there eventually. He's doing so well in the American Hockey League. He's got nothing else to prove. Yada, yada, yada. When you hear stuff like that, you're in the lottery league. It's actually a bad thing. The numbers are good, but the culture of winning isn't there yet. Yet. I heard a lot of that this year. And that was just, oh. So be careful when people are building up only the players and not the team. They'll be there. Matthew Schaefer's the exception. Younger should not mean prospects. That kind of goes hand in hand with the potential. Okay? I'm not picking on him. We don't know if he's coming back. Anders Lee is 36. You can bring in a 29 or 30-year-old with a little more experience to keep the team competitive. And you're still younger. You don't have to bring up the kids. One of the reasons why I did not have the Islanders making the playoffs, if you take a look at all the other teams in the playoffs right now, they only have two rookies playing during the regular season. Two at most. Most fans may not realize it. Edmonton had three, and as of right now, they got lucky. They're not doing so hot right now, but that's on their star players. Edmonton's the only exception. You look at any NHL team ready to make a playoff run, it's only two rookies. You're playing two prospects at most. Okay. And according to everyone else, a prospect is 50 games or less played in the NHL. The Islanders had four this year: Matthew Schaefer, Cal Ritchie, Shabanoff, and believe it or not, excuse me for a moment, um, Mark Gatcomb. Mark Gatcomb only started the season with 39 games. Technically still a prospect. You're not going to win or get into a playoff spot when you're running essentially four prospects. Shabanoff's first year, I don't care if he's 26. Welcome to the NHL. You haven't played anything yet. Those are some of the things that what I heard this season, there was a lot of upsell. And Joe and I were talking about it a little bit. You know, I don't know where the upsell came from. Granted, to the Islanders business side of it, I get it. They ended up selling out 29 out of the 40 games played. Okay, I get it. But the upselling of this team little off for me. It's almost like the Islanders paid some of these influencers under the table. Great marketing scheme. Like you got this, you sold the tickets. Thank you, Matthew Schaefer. But it's just like I wasn't buying anything that I was really reading or watching or whatnot. And I honestly, I was part of me was like, "Am I getting this wrong this year?" Which is why I tried to stay quiet. But they were just certain signs that didn't work for me, and I'm like, "This is not going to work." And we're going to get into that really quick. So, too many prospects on this team was a reason for this team not to make the playoffs. So, this is going to be a section of, the numbers don't lie. The numbers don't lie. And this is going to bring everyone together. This is going to give them a clearer picture of what actually happened this season and moving forward. Okay. Ah, let me make sure I have everything here. Let's do this. Oh, not that one. The lack of scoring on the forwards. Power play aside. I get it. You're right. I know. I'm skipping that for now. And that's on purpose. We all know the power play is just wretched. Okay. What do I look for at the beginning of the season when it comes to the forwards? I'm looking at players who racked up close to 22 goals at the beginning of the season. Who can get you close to 22 goals? Okay. And for me, when I look at forwards, 5, 6 is usually that number. Okay. Usually the bottoms, they fill out pretty well. Okay. The forwards, for the most part, didn't do bad. And that's the kicker. They didn't finish correctly, but that kind of culminates to the season. The Islanders were close, but they didn't have it. And I'll get into that later on. Your only forwards to rack up 22 goals or more: Emil Heineman and Bo Horvat. Two. Matt Barzell came close with 19. Simon Holmstrom racked up 19. Anders Lee racked up 19. So you were almost close to 5 players. Include the injury to Kyle Palmieri. The Islanders were close, but not there. You got to have a solid number. 5, at least 5 forwards scoring around 22 goals. That's something I look at every season in August. That's when I start looking, sometimes September. They were good, not enough. And going back a little bit here, as far as the forwards are concerned, we'll agree to disagree on this one. Cal Ritchie was rushed. And in this case, because the Islanders were in the lottery league, I had them in the lottery league at the start of this season. I didn't have them making the playoffs. I jumped the gun. I did. But Cal Ritchie was rushed. Did he have a good season? Yeah, he did. The issue I have, and for those who have been following the show now, I've been doing the prospects, I've been doing the draft now for eons. When I hear Matthew Darsh say he wants to develop the farm system, I was all gun ho about it. Cal Ritchie had an excellent first year. I would have preferred more than 60, 65 games, whatever it was. That's the bare minimum. The problem that I have is that a good chunk of that ended up being on the left wing or wing, whatever it is. That wasn't the center position. As of right now, we can make this argument. Josh Bailey, Anthony Beauvillier. Now it's Matt Barzell, but we'll see where he gets put in. You guys understand where I'm going with this? We brought in a center, and now we got to move him to wing. But he's gonna be a 2C, maybe a 1C at some point. He's gonna get there. Welcome to the lottery league. Welcome to the lottery league. This is where you're gonna get stuck. Peter DeBoer said he's gonna be, he sees him as a centerman. Wonderful. Where? When? I say this with the utmost respect. I don't trust Peter DeBoer. He learned from Lou Lamoriello. If there's anyone who can talk his way out of any kind of discussion about players, it's probably him, especially after the trouble he got in the time before. Okay? Is Cal Ritchie an excellent player? Yeah, I like him. I would have preferred him at center. But again, he came up out of necessity because of Bo Horvat's injuries, a couple of other things going on with the team. He came up out of necessity. So I'm not completely upset with that. He scored 23 points, 5-on-5, which isn't bad. It's not bad. Did he belong in the? Oh yeah. Did he belong in the NHL? Stealing my line. Yes, but guess what? You're in the lottery league. Eh, eh. So what? Is Cal Ritchie playing in the playoffs on any of these other teams? Maybe LA. He's not in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would have had him in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. Carolina would have had him down in their minor leagues. Philadelphia probably has him in Lehigh Valley, maybe as a call up for this entire season. And even Cal Ritchie admitted to himself, he admitted, I believe it was to Stefan, he still has a lot of work to do. And I admire that from that young man. He knows it. And he will put in the work. But Cal Ritchie probably could have used a little more seasoning, a little more domination in the American Hockey League. And then if the Islanders were a little healthier, we'll go there, and they had a chance, you could bring up Cal Ritchie like the Flyers ended up bringing up Porter Martone. Having said that, I think Ritchie's going to have a really good career, but I think now instead of, you know, you got to give him his full entry level contract. You got to give him the next 2 years to see where he really does evolve as a player. He'll put in the work, but are we getting a centerman or are we getting another winger? For me, we're just replaying this, guys. We're just regurgitating everything we've done before. Develop the players that they are supposed to be at. And Matthew Darsh said it. Centermen can play wing. Wingers cannot play center. Okay? As of right now, I haven't seen enough centermen out of Cal Ritchie playing in the NHL. And now you just signed J.G. Pajot to an extension. My hope is after this season, this upcoming season, Casey Zizekas steps. We say goodbye to Casey Zizekas. Maybe Pajot goes down to the fourth line. Ritchie can start his center career on the third line. That's fine. But I'm going to be very curious to see whether he starts the season in Hamilton as a center or if we just have another left winger. My hope is that he's a 3C to start the season in 2 seasons. And again, if there are injuries to this team, bring him up. Bring him up. Put him at that center position. I have no problem with that. So you had a lack of forwards. You rushed a couple, you rushed a prospect. It happens. The lack of scoring on the defense. This one took me a while to not figure out or develop or whatnot. But if you're a playoff team, you need 3 defensemen to rack up 30 points or more in this league. If you really want to be in the playoffs. And you cannot average it out. I've already tried. Yes, Matthew Schaefer racked a few up. You could bring some of that down to Adam Pellick, kind of balance everything out. No, it doesn't work. Okay, I tried that. It doesn't work. To the Islanders' credit, Matthew Schaefer racking up those points. Tony D'Angelo racking up 37, 33. Give me a moment. 35. Good numbers. Ryan Pulock, who we found out was more injured than we realized, ends up with 28. Give him a pass. Okay, give him a pass. If you cannot have 3 defensemen racking up 30 points, in a season, you're looking at least four defensemen, again, with that magic number 22. 22 points. Adam Pellick kind of fell short on that. Scott Mayfield, third pairing defenseman, racking up 15. It's just about normal, even for a third pair defenseman. That number 6 spot was a little bit of a sore spot here for all of us. Losing Romanov definitely hurt, even though he was not starting off very well at all. You bring back Romanov in a more structured system. Can Romanov put in 17 to 22 points? Probably. That's what I look for, folks. And as the season wore on, I was like, okay, where are we getting? And again, this goes back to Gary. You can plug in all the numbers you want, but you have to watch the games. I did a little bit of both. Okay. At the beginning of the season, I wanted to know how healthy the Islanders were going to be. At their healthiest, where is that pinnacle? Where is the height that they can go? Okay. How healthy are the Islanders right now? Okay. My hope, forget goal. Okay. My hope for the Islanders this year was 87 to 92 points. They ended up with 91. Okay. And I'm sorry, next year, if I were to set a goal for them, it would be somewhere in the vicinity of 97 to 102 points. Now, how did I get that range? Because, in all honesty, folks, that's where the Islanders were for most of the season. What had me concerned was that the Islanders could not get above 102. And during the shows, especially in November, December, early January, Yes, the Islanders could have been in second place in the Metro Division, but there was no separation. And that's part of the new NHL. The parity is there. The Islanders were on pace for 102 points, and they could not separate themselves from the rest of the division. And this is the element where I'm taking a little bit of Joe. You set numbers, but where are they going to be compared to the rest of the NHL? And I think that's something that Islander fans need to start doing a little bit more. Yes, the Islanders are doing good, but Washington was still injured. We hadn't seen them recover yet. New Jersey was injured. We didn't see them recover yet. If we were playing the wild card spot, Ottawa was still injured. Florida was still injured. Toronto is just becoming a hot mess. Okay, when the Rangers went down, we knew the Rangers were going down. But you understand where I'm coming from. There were other elements in play that had the potential, even at that time, to snake bit the Islanders. So, at the very least, if the Islanders don't do anything this summer, because of the amount of depth that this team now has, 97 to 102 points is not out of the question. And you have to remember, they did that through a condensed schedule this year. Bunch of old men playing a condensed schedule, and for the most part, they got 97 to 102 points. That was their pace for most of the season. Again, thank you, Matthew Schaefer. Big part of it. Thank you, Ilya Sorokin. Thank you, Bo Horvat, when he was healthy. There are still some positives going on despite some of the setbacks that happened this year. The Islanders are in a good spot right now. Do I think the Islanders are just going to stand pat? No. We know that. Okay. But you're looking at worst. If this team stays healthy, that should be the new goal. And that's going to put you close to a playoff spot. In summary here, did the Islanders overachieve? You bet your ass they did. No doubt. They overachieved. No doubt. And I'm going to use again John on this one as well. John was a hockey fan who was blind, and he was able to write for Eyes on Isles just by listening to the games. Just by listening to the games, and he was able to blog about the Islanders. And when people read his work, you could actually see what was going on in the games through his writing. And what I always appreciated about John is that even when I moved up here to PA, there were not a lot of games. WFAN was just barely coming up here on the radio. So I had to listen to games. I had to watch games on the Islanders, but from an opponent's standpoint. And don't get me wrong, I love listening to Islander games every once in a while. Alan Fearing, Bailey, Butch is on there sometimes. I listen if I don't get a chance to watch, I have no problem listening to the game. But I do like to listen every once in a while to the opposing team's broadcasters. Do not listen to Boston. Do not listen to Pittsburgh. Some of you are laughing right now because you know that's the truth. Don't listen to them. Try to watch the game instead. Don't listen to those two. No, don't do it. Okay. And we're going back to Matthew Schaefer here. We have the Islander fan base putting him at a generational player. Rightfully so. There's a lot of excitement going on. What I heard from outside of Long Island, yes, he could be a special kid. Let's see what he can do in a few more years. I have that respect from both. So I'm going to bring you into the middle here. And again, thank you to John. Matthew Schaefer had a generational season like no other. He came in at the right time. He came into the right place. And the one thing that people tend to forget, especially when it comes to the lack of defensive scoring, Matthew Schaefer was able to make up Noah Dobson's numbers from the previous season. Forget about Dobson's play for a moment. The Islanders at that time, even at the beginning of the season, you didn't replace Noah Dobson's numbers. What Matthew Schaefer did for this team was generational for this season. Ilya Sorokin put up Vezina-like numbers to keep this team going. In all honesty, I'll say it. Joe and I said it at the beginning of the season. This Islander squad should not have finished where they were. They should have been down pretty much Vancouver style. They didn't. I'm going to give props to Islander fans in a minute as well. Matthew Schaefer changed the course of this transition. He changed the course of the Islanders' time in the lottery league by a lot. Does this mean we have to bring up every 18-year-old, every 19-year-old? No. No. He's a special player with a generational season. I will be ecstatic. I'll be more of a fan when Matthew Schaefer puts on 10, 15 pounds. Oh. And there's a part of me that is honestly glad that the Islanders missed the playoffs this year. Because this young man will never want to experience something like this again. And when it's his time to lead, he will not allow it. And I'm going to go here with this one. As much as I just bashed the Islanders, did the Islanders collapse? No. No, they didn't. And I'm going to answer that. This goes back to the new NHL that everyone was introduced to. I had asked permission, and I got it from Jack from Isles Den, and it was this situation. Let me hide this banner here for a moment. Perhaps the philosophy of buying at the NHL trade deadline should be revisited. Go Sens. The Senators stood pat. The Flyers stood pat. The Penguins stood pat. The Bruins stood pat. The Caps sold. Still a question mark on that one. I don't know why. The Isles bought. The Red Wings bought. The Columbus Blue Jackets bought. Okay. Jack was on to something. He was on to something, just off a little bit. The only minor detail he may not have realized is that all those teams that stood pat were injured, literally injured during the season or at the beginning of the season, especially the Bruins. None of them were getting healthy until the second half of this season. I said this, I think, on 3 shows ago. I think it was episode 15. If the Islanders missed the playoffs, and I know Gary was there, it was going to be out of the Islanders' control. And allow me to explain. The Buffalo Sabres were pretty much going downward again, I think around Thanksgiving. They fired their general manager, and Buffalo has never looked back since. That's getting healthy. They took off. The Boston Bruins got healthy pretty much all season. That's out of the Islanders' control. That's a wild card spot. Pittsburgh was able to win without Crosby and or Malkin and or both. Many of us had Pittsburgh down in last place. That's out of the Islanders' control. Philadelphia ran the table because they all locked in. They bought into Rick Tockett's system. And they dominated everyone since the Olympic break. That's out of the Islanders' control. And then they bring in Porter Martone later on. The Red Wings had to add. They didn't have enough. The Columbus Blue Jackets bring in former Islanders coach Rick Bowness. Columbus goes on a winning streak. The Islanders could not control that. Washington got healthy. They pissed me off. Washington got healthy. They ended up surpassing the Islanders, but they didn't make the playoffs. I think if Washington had maybe an 84 game schedule, they might have slipped in. The Islanders' offense, even with the forwards, was almost on pace for what they normally do. During the regular season, the Islanders were on pace as a team for 237 to about 245. For most of the season, they were on there. It wasn't until the end of the season where things just started to unfold. They got beat by the better teams. If any of these teams were healthy at the beginning of the season, the Islanders probably don't get as high as they should have. But was this a collapse? Absolutely not. There were injuries. The Islanders took advantage of some of these teams who were struggling in the first half. This is what's going to happen in the NHL moving forward. Did they have enough in the tank? No, they did not. Not for these teams who, unfortunately, not only did they get healthy, but they went on a massive streak that the Islanders just couldn't control. They didn't collapse. They are who they are. But they showed you where they are in the standings. It's not bad. For year 2 in a lottery league now, they're in a pretty good spot. So we have a segment here called Don't Blame Gary. Every once in a while, more than once in a while, we do get info. We are, and I say this with the utmost respect, we are allowed to break info. Okay. This is a little bit on the hindsight. It's the end of the season, but I kind of did this on purpose. When we get stuff right, or if we're, quote, on the right track, we will be rewarded with information. However, due to Gary's affiliation with the Islanders Booster Club, only Joe and I know. We are given that information. Okay. It's how it's worked for years now. Again, you don't have to believe me. I don't care. I love it when I'm giving out the actual information and I let you guys wrap your heads about it. That's fine. I'm sick like that. You can believe me. You don't have to believe me. I don't care. But this was the info we were getting. Joe and on last shows, Gary as well, were very adamant about the lack of structure and how the game opened up for the Islanders beyond that one game against Dallas and Florida, where we saw them play playoff hockey, the more structured defensive type system that we were all hoping to see for the rest of the season. We did not. We saw the game open up. We saw a man on man. Every single Islander fan, young and old, doesn't matter. We all saw a bunch of old guys, old players playing man on man, which was an absolute no no. Um, Unfortunately for Islander fans, that decision by Patrick Waugh was actually deliberate. Yeah, deliberate, playing man on man. When Peter DeBoer said, I literally got that phone call on Sunday, he's telling the truth. You just beat Dallas. You just beat Florida. And the change to deliberately going to man on man against Pittsburgh, deliberate. So for those of you who wanted Patrick Waugh fired for a little while, kudos to you. For those of you who had praised Patrick Waugh for at least doing what he did, this will be a little bit of a blemish. I can also tell you that the Islanders were thinking about replacing Patrick Waugh 14 games before the season ended, but they decided not to because they were still in it. But I asked why that was deliberately changed, and I just got the answer: Patrick Waugh. Go with that with what you will. Do I think the Islanders would have made the playoffs either way? I don't think so. But that's 4 games, 4 straight losses. Deliberately playing an old slow team, man on man. Deliberately. Yeah. A little bit of a blemish there. Again, don't blame Gary. For some of you who, I knew it. Yes, you were right. Okay. Good for you. I'm just the messenger here on this one. So, what did this season teach me? And what it should teach you moving forward? It's all about momentum. Condensed schedule is going to happen again more often than we realize. The NHL is going to make some money off of this. There's no doubt. We've talked about the health of the organization, not just the New York Islanders. It's got to be the whole organization. It is going to be about the hot team. It is going to be about consistency. Every day, I honestly, I, there's no downplaying to any of these teams anymore. You got to come out. You got to come out. You got to be ready. That's going to be the mindset. You cannot have any more slow seasons. Excuse me. You cannot have any more slow starts. That's just not happening. That can't happen anymore. 5-5, okay, sure. 7-3 is better. Even 6-4 is better. 5-5 should be the absolute bare minimum to start a season, and then you got to get through the grind. There's a lot of comments in this comment section. I hope you guys are behaving. It's all about momentum. And this is where I'm going to give my props. If I could bow down to Islander fans in particular. If I could give the Bob Nystrom Award to anyone, it would be Islander fans at the moment. You took a young man under your wing from the moment he was drafted, you turned him into one of your own immediately. That young man thrives on momentum, he thrives on emotion. There's no better place for him to play than Long Island in front of Islander fans who have been longing for someone like Schaefer. Islander fans at home have been a huge reason for the success of this team this year. The amount of emotion, positive emotion, you have given this young man, and to help carry the rest of this team the way you did, deserves the Bob Nystrom Award. I cannot I cannot understate that anymore, overstate that anymore. You not only fueled Matthew Schaefer, but Matthew Schaefer was able to fuel the rest of that team. And again, there is a part of me that had kind of glad they missed the playoffs because they, the booing, I don't want to say it was allowed. Some of it was earned. I get it. But the booing needed to be there for him to hear it because it's not always roses and good times on Long Island. New Yorkers are going to let you know when you stink. Even if it's Matthew Schaefer, even if it's just the Islanders in general, the booing needed to happen because now you've given him a better understanding of what Islander hockey is. That was another lesson. So kudos to all of you who have gone, who have cheered, who have booed. You gave him an introduction to Long Island and Islanders hockey. I can't overstate the amount of praise you all should be getting in his development because, in all honesty, you are there. He's going to drive on your emotions. There's no doubt about it. So that's my parting gift for you guys. Congrats to you guys. What to expect in year 3 of this transition? I'm going to ask everyone right now, forget about the trade deadline. The trade deadline, like I said, when you're in the lottery league, you got to think long term. Matthew Darcy was just adding the depth. That's all this was. And it's my understanding Patrick Roy wasn't coming back as coach anyway. I think most of you already know that. He's prepping for the next season. I don't want to say sit back. I mean, if you want to play armchair GM, go ahead. I would sit back and see what he does because now we're all going to get a better idea of what kind of a GM he wants to be. And what do I mean by that? He's been screaming to the top of the mountain here. Development of prospects. You can't do that without enough depth in the organization. If you trade everybody away, you're now looking at, again, 93, 94, well, not 93. We'll go 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. Some of you are cringing. You can't trade everybody away. The obvious stuff is going to be who's going to fit Peter DeBoer's system. I'll let you guys play with that. And if the Islanders miss the playoffs for one more season, Hamilton's going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 first rounders in the Calder Cup playoffs. 6. I'll let you guys pick them out. But yeah, 6. 6. And then I'll tell you right now, year 4 for me, God, I hope it's some form of like 1993 or 2002, and hell, I'll even go 2016. Something like that. That's for year 4. Could they do it next year? Sure. Sure. I'm up for it. Why not? The parity in this league, the unpredictability, anything can happen. Absolutely. I'm gonna say for right now, for Islander fans, go one more year with this. Just one. Let Matthew Darsh clean up whatever he needs to clean up. Because when you're in the lottery league, general managers go, the coaches go, and then at some point, it's gonna be the players. Let's see what he can do, if he can do anything at all. But for me, entering next season, if there are any injuries, I think the next step for the Islanders as an organization is to bring them down from Hamilton and not overloading the forward position in the NHL. Some of them are ready, but if he decides to overload in the NHL to keep the players developing in Hamilton, you you know, this stuff is easy to fix, believe it or not. If you're looking at another forward, you're probably looking at another playmaking left winger on the first line. Put him with Horvat, put him with Heineman. You can do that. If he can get you anywhere near 20 goals, you do it. As far as the defense goes, I'm not against bringing up Isaiah George, even as a sixth defenseman, but you may want to bring in a little more experience, maybe. And then as far as the goaltending goes, boy, Varley looked good. I can't lie. Is he, can he do 30, 35 games? I don't know. It's so tough for me. But again, this is Matthew Darsh's first full offseason. He now knows what he has in his team. It's now time for him to make those decisions. And for this summer, I'm willing to just sit back and say, okay, let's see what we got. It's something I've been doing all season long. I'm finishing the process here before the draft. Let's see what he can do. So, that's it, boys and girls. That's a little bit of my rant. Seeing is believing moving forward. You know, whatever you want to see, fine. Don't believe a thing until the Islanders actually start doing something. There's no more upselling. They sold out more home games than they should have. This is now hockey. You want to see hockey results, not just business results. They got more than they should have last season. Thank you, Matthew Schaefer. Okay. Now we're in the hockey mode. You want to see this team in the playoffs. You want to see this team go deeper. I get that. Seeing is believing. Is this team going to be better in September than it was last September? Yes. Yeah. So that's my rant. Thank you, sir. So this is what I'm going to do. Can't believe I'm doing it, but I'm going to do it. I am now going to put the link in the chat room. If anyone wants to come on in, you don't have to have your face on it. You don't have to come in, just say your name, tell me where you're from. Comments, questions, comments, concern. This is coffee break, no water cooler talk. It's too early in the well. It's 11 o'clock. Coffee break time. Randy Workman is not going to be allowed in. It's just not happening. Brush is not allowed in. That's not happening. Thomas Boyle is not coming in. That's not happening. If you guys want to come in, come on in. We'll talk. No bashing. This is the off season. This is the silly season. I'll start off. As far as the left winger goes, guys, I would love to see if the Islanders could pry Teravainen away from Chicago. Teravainen on a line with Horvat and Heineman? Yeah. He's not physical. He's not physical, but he can definitely set up Horvat. He can definitely set up Heineman. And let me throw this out there. Randy knows exactly what I'm about to do. What would you guys think about going after Jonathan Huberdeau of Calgary? I know you guys are going to be like, oh, that contract's horrible. Hear me out. Anthony Duclair, Pierre Enval. I don't know. Throw somebody else in there. Strictly a cap move. You're taking all the bad contracts at the moment, piling it up into one contract on the Islanders. If Huberdeau goes down, you've got 10.5 of LTIR space. But Jonathan Huberdeau, if he's healthy, putting him with Horvat, putting him with Heineman, I didn't think Nyman was available. Yeah, much like I don't mind that. But you bring in Jonathan Huberdeau with Horvat and Heineman on the first line? Hello. He's not going to put up 25 points. He's going to put up probably a minimum 60, especially with Heineman's shot. He's that playmaking left winger that you really need. And Huberdeau can put up some points. Again, if he's healthy, why not? That would be a financial advantage. That won't happen. And the reason, see, why isn't it happening? It's not going to happen because Huberdeau probably does not want to be traded away from Calgary. The question is, every other player has waived their no trade clause to play with Matthew Schaefer. Would Jonathan Huberdeau be the next one? Triple H line. Look at you. Hey, why not? And for those of you who want the younger players coming up, look, if Huberdeau gets injured, you got your shot. It goes against what Matthew Darsh really wants. I get that. He wants the younger players to play in the minors first. I get that. I'm just throwing this out here because it's now the off season. We're allowed to do this. Why would they agree to take two bad contracts? Because it's less money a year than what Jonathan Huberdeau's doing. Jonathan Huberdeau's 10.5. Enval and Duclair together are both five, and Enval's, I'm sorry, I think Duclair's got 2 more years. And all you're asking is Anthony Duclair to rack up 25 points to replace what Jonathan Huberdeau did last year. He is. So who are you giving up? Oh, let me add this now. We are dealing with Matthew Darsh. And this is just me. This is just my speculation. Nothing would shock me if the Islanders traded that 13th pick. Nothing would shock me at this point. Ah, now what do we do? Well, listen, I gotta be honest with you, Hal. He looked good against Hershey. Granted, they were American Hockey League games, but his movement was okay. His positioning was a little rusty. Um, but I gotta be honest with you, he looked good. A normal off-season training, maybe the Islanders should get themselves another number three after Hogberg to replace Hogberg. Um, but could Varley play 10 games in the National League? Probably. Just from, again, very, very small sample size. But I was very optimistic from what I saw. Granted, it was more of the getting rid of the rust, but we'll see what kind of decision there is. He may make a decision on his own. 14th, not 13th? What the hell happened? I thought we were in 13th. Tankathon had us at 13th. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the backup. I don't think David Riddick is going to be the backup either. Yeah, we are 13th in the draft. Yeah, I thought he looked great. Yeah, rusty in the first, but that's normal, especially after two knee surgeries. He looked really good. I don't. It's not a guarantee, but I got to be honest with you guys. You know, two knee surgeries the way he did, and the way he's playing in the American League. Props to him. Like full props. Correct. Grubauer did it. Snow, for those of you who remember, um, Snow ruined his knees and became the Isles GM. I don't think Varlamov's going to be the GM anytime soon. But that's right, Grubauer did it. Let's give him camp. Let's see what he does. Let's see what the doctors actually say. Give it some time. Don't rush the summer. So, sleeping nightmare for next season. Yeah, it's April. I'm not even worried about it. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If you guys want to come on the chat room, come on in. I put the link there. Should have worked. Tuesday night at Bridgeport looked like Lou and Chris saying goodbye to Darsh. Your thoughts? Listen, I know where Tommy's going with this. Listen, Lou's not. All right. this is another don't blame Gary moment. Okay. I was told emphatically, almost like a family member yelling at me at this one. At least that's how it felt. I was told Lou has absolutely no decision makings when it comes to the team. That is all 100% Darsh. Yeah. I'm going to believe the Islanders on that. Uh, yeah, I don't think Lou has a hand in it. Um, I don't know if Chris is going to go up to Hamilton. There's a lot of changes going on with that. So we don't know if Bonus, the assistant GM, is going to stay assistant GM. I know he's been interviewing for GM positions. Um, you know, it's the off season, guys. It's April 25th. Stuff like this is going to happen. We already have uh, one of the assistant coaches, the power play coach. He's no longer here. Back to Bridgeport real quick. That was my first press pass for Bridgeport back in the 2016-17 season. Um, on a personal note, I would like to thank the Islanders and the Sound Tigers for allowing me to go up to the press box to work with the other writers that were there. There weren't many at the time. Um, you know, getting to learn how to interview the players, the coaches, watching from everyone. This was a phenomenal experience for me. Um, and it's one of those things where it's like you learn a lot, and you watch the game in a different way as well when you're up in the press box as well. So, um, humbly thanking the Sound Tigers and the Islanders uh, for allowing me to go up there whenever I could to cover the games for Isles Talk. So, thank you again to the Sound Tigers and the Islanders. Ah, who said he's getting bought out? I mean, it's the summertime. I can do this to you guys. Palat's got one more season. And let's be honest, Palat had more goals or the same amount of goals as McLean and Gakholm. He had the same amount of goals. Palat, in all honesty, when he was here, he probably should have scored two more goals, but that's it. That's who he is at this point. That fourth line is going to be a big question mark as well. I didn't include that in the show, but I don't know what they're doing with that. I know a lot of people want Palat bought out. Would Palat play better under a Peter DeBoer system over a Patrick Waugh? Yes. And again, we're only talking 1 year. You're in the lottery league now. You're in the lottery league. Seeing is believing. Do I think he's going to get bought out? Yeah. What are they buying? What are they buying? That's it. We don't know yet. Oh, and I've been saying this now for years. And you guys know this. The CBA is getting, we're getting a brand new CBA. Are there going to be any compliance buyouts where it doesn't go against the cap? Do any of these guys qualify for that? We're going to find out. The problem is the rest of the NHL knows. They're just not telling us yet. The expansion draft is not for, I think, another 2 years. But yeah, you're in the right mind. If you could move Palat, I think that would be phenomenal. Well, let me ask you something, and this is for everyone in general. With the unpredictability now of the NHL, and you've got the Islanders pretty much stuck, do you want them to spend to the cap this year, or do you want Matthew Darsh to spend on a budget to see, who really earns the paycheck or whatnot? Or do you even care? Like, do you still want this team to spend to the max, or would you rather see results first and then to give them a little more room? No budget, typical Calgarian. Do you want the Islanders to spend all the way up this year, heading into this year, or would you rather see them work on a budget? Uh I'm on record. They were sideways moves. As far as I'm concerned, Shen was putting up more points than Drouin. Palat, Palat was Palat. Palat wasn't there to score goals. He shouldn't have been put on the second line, but again, Patrick Watt. Okay. Carson Soucy, believe it or not, guys, I think I defended Carson Soucy before. When the Islanders were actually playing their structured system and Carson Soucy had one hit or less, the Islanders went 6-0. Carson Soucy was an absolute product of the system in front of him. That's not all on Soucy. When the system started to change, that's when everything started to unravel. Oh man, talk about a can of worms in April. Thoughts on Barzell? And do you think the Islanders can win with him? He's got amazing talent, just doesn't bring it every game. My question, my, I'm going to answer this question with another question, Jeffrey. Is he going to be a number 2C, or is he going to be a left winger on the first line? I don't know who Matt Barzell is. That's the one confusing thing about this season. Is he going to play 2C, or is he going to play the first line, left wing? What's he going to be? We didn't get that answer. I don't like it, and no one else does when he tries to go 1-on-3, 1-on-4. Everyone stops him at the blue line. It seems like him and Matthew Schaefer are the only ones on the ice sometimes. What's his role? What's he going to be? And is he going to have wingers who he can, complement with? If he's a 2C, you're probably looking at Luke Shen and Kyle Palmieri next season. Okay. That's what I mean. There's still some work to be done here. It's April. That's going to be a tough one. The old skate around looking for that pass. See, you guys know this already. Oh, I don't know if I'm trading Barzell. Oh, here's the thing with Pedersen, guys, and Randy can back me up on this one. If the Vancouver Canucks land the number one overall pick, Pedersen's not going anywhere. You're going to Pedersen and McKenna together. No, Pedersen's not going anywhere. I don't have the Islanders trading Matt Barzal. I just want to know what position he's going to play. What player is he going to be? Is he going to be a 2C, or is he going to be a 1L? Agreed. Although I thought he had a pretty good season this year, but you know, Bo Horvat. No offense to Bo, but Bo's not really John Tavares. Um, well, John Tavares at that time. I think Bo's really decent, but is Matt Barzell going to make his players better? Honestly, that's the question. Is he going to make his his wingers better players? Also agreed. Also agreed. Maybe you put Holmstrom up there. Uh, You can go Lee, Pajot, and Palmieri on a third line. That wouldn't be bad. And then you're going Shen, Barzell, and Holmstrom. Again, there's not a lot of speed. If you wanted to, Horvat with Holmstrom on the first line isn't too bad, depending on who we have. Then you've got Heineman, Barzell, and Shen on the second line. I'm not putting Cal Ritchie on the Islanders just yet. I want to give Darsh this summer. I want to give him a chance this summer to see what kind of a GM he really wants to be moving forward and guiding this team moving forward. Oh, brother. The effects on 48's bonuses on the cap. Mm, minimum. 3 million, I think, right? Trade away Envol. Whatever. You send Envol down to the minors. You're still saving yourself, it's $1 million after that. You can work on that. That's $3 million well spent. Yeah. And that's why I was asking if the Islanders are going to be a little bit of on a budget this year. Ticket prices aren't going up, but do you have to spend to the cap by September? If you want to spend up to the cap by like April or the trade deadline, by all means, go ahead. You see where the team is. 3.5, not bad. Yeah, I said three. I was honestly guessing. I knew the number three was in there. I knew the number three was in there. 3.5. Money well spent. The Islanders running it back is not necessarily a bad thing for next season, but only for next season. It's not a bad thing. And you can still make moves during the season, especially if there are injuries. It's fine. Ah, I'm going to defend Mayfield here a little bit. That player has had too many defensive partners this season. And I think in a system with Peter DeBoer, where it's going to be a little more structured, Mayfield has always thrived in structure. I think that could be the same for Palat. That could be it's definitely the same with Shen, because if you guys remember, Shen flourished under Craig Berube in St. Louis. He struggled a little bit with Jim Montgomery, but Montgomery and Waugh, they were a little bit more alike. Berube and DeBoer have that structural defensive style that Shen just thrives on. So giving Scott Mayfield a little more structure and a solid, consistent defensive partner probably would help. Moving forward, I think I think Matthew Darsh really wants to put the kids in Hamilton and let them learn how to win in that culture. I think that's what this is about. And it's like I said before, if the Islanders miss the playoffs this season, this upcoming season, you can put Matthew Schaefer, you can put Cal Ritchie, you've got Eklund, you've got Aitchison, you've got Iserman. And depending on who they draft, you have your 2026 first round pick possibly playing in the Calder Cup playoffs for Hamilton next season. Talk about excitement. Okay. That's how you know where there's the potential is almost close. Okay. That's why I'm kind of getting giddy. I can kind of sort of see what Matthew Darsh is trying to do here. This is not a Lou moment. If Lou was here, most of these kids are traded. We know that already. Okay. Stop with the Lou. Okay. Darsh is trying to build the culture up even more. Now, what he wants to see is that he wants to see the kids win under this new culture. So that way they can bring that up and eventually replace the old regime. But you're not far away. You really aren't. Would I bring back Lee? I think I put Lee on the third line. Guy scored 44 points. He's got something there. Again, he's another player that would do well with the structure. Um, Lee, Pajot, and Palmieri. I'm actually okay with that. You know, I maybe 1 year, go 1 year deal. You know, if he can finish with 1,000 games, beautiful. But again, from what we got told, again, don't blame Gary moment. From what we were told, it's a personal decision now for Anders Lee. Um, yeah, 3.5, maybe 3. Yeah, 36, 37. You know, what does Anders Lee really want? That's honestly that's going to be it. But this is now on the players. We've changed general managers, we've changed coaches. Now it's on the players. This is part of the evolution. I'm just asking Islander fans to be a little more patient with this change because when it finally does happen, get giddy. And then Schaefer's going to experience something from you guys that he's going to want every year. It's a drug. Islander fans, when they're rowdy in the playoffs, it's like a drug for a lot of these players. They live off of this. Schaefer has no idea yet. And when he finally does, it's going to rub off the rest of the players as well, the younger players. Islander identity is being messed up with the move. What do you mean? Or the move to Hamilton? No, Rocky Thompson is still going to be there. Rocky Thompson's the big reason why that culture's changed. Hamilton, Hamilton. Well, listen, Bridgeport had their problems with Providence, Hershey, and Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Hamilton is going to have their problems with Syracuse and Laval. So, you know, be careful, what you ask for up there. Syracuse and Laval, they're not easy teams to play with either. They're usually up there. I have, but I'm trying to give everyone a chance here. This is it, boys and girls. This is our last show for a little while. Um, I'll be back for the draft for a little bit, but again, nothing would shock me if Matthew Darsh trades his pick. Tampa doesn't keep their picks. They never did, not for the most part. So, any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Coffee break is over. The season is over. I'm over. I'm over all of you. I'm done with it. My venting session is over. Um, don't believe in any more upsells. You will believe it when you see it. You will see it much sooner than most fans may realize. But you are now stuck. This is your actual mushy middle. Um, do not enjoy this moment. Okay. The business, they've made their money. Now it's time for the hockey moves to actually be made. Um, don't buy the fluff. Don't buy the upsell. This team has a lot to prove at the moment. And this now it's on the players. It's absolutely on the show. It's absolutely on the players. Now you're back to being underdogs. You should have stayed underdogs to begin with. But 29 home games sold out. Now make the right hockey moves. Give us a reason other than Matthew Schaefer to go see that game. It's up to you guys. So again, I'll be back for the draft at some point. But before you do that, please follow us on Isles Talk on X at Isles Talk. Please like and follow us on Facebook. Please like uh, this episode on Isles Talk on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Um, the numbers are continuing to go up as always. Guys, this has been a lot of fun. It's been a very learning experience here. My thanks again to Gary, for Joe, and even John, who's not here with us. Um, their presence is always going to be around here on Isles Talk um, moving forward. And for the rest of you, it's silly season. Don't play armchair GM all year long. Don't do all summer long. It's not worth it. Let the Islanders show you what's next. You deserve that now. No more fluff. No more upsell. You believe it when you see it. Enjoy your summer. We'll be back for the draft, and we'll go from there. Take care, guys.